Well, guys, it's 2 p.m. GMT, so we're now rip-roaring through our SAP Super Summit, and our next speaker I'm very, very excited about. We've been speaking to Sven now for a fair few weeks about his upcoming presentation. For those of you who don't know, Sven is from SAP, not only from SAP, but he's Vice President of Strategy, Head of Communication and Solutions at SAP. So we've got a presentation coming up that I know will knock your socks off. Now, Sven has got key expertise in areas of ERP, CRM, and HR as a cloud offering. So this presentation now is going to be something very, very special, and I know that by the guys who've logged on. So Sven, what I'm about to do is pass over the controls to yourself, but before we do, I'll just set the housekeeping rules for the attendees. Sven's presentation will last for approximately 45-50 minutes, by which time we will take questions throughout the presentation, but as with all the speakers, we want to give out great content without any interruptions. So if you can hold any particular questions to Sven until the end, that'd be fantastic. Any questions we can't host today, we will direct to Sven individually. So without further ado, here's Sven. I'm just about to pass you the control of the webinar.
Thank you very much for that. And let's start also with the housekeeping on my side. And thanks for the introduction. There was only one point which I need to correct. So it's not communication, but co-innovation.
Co-innovation.
Nevertheless, that is a good start. And let me just check if you can see my presentation now.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So fine with strategy, but much more important, my recent months have been with co-innovation, which is actually collaborating with customers and partners on our entire cloud portfolio. And I think that's what I brought to you guys in this hour here today, not only talking about what the strategy is, but also what we learned from customers, where we see the market going, and what is our future direction when it comes to cloud. So with no further ado, let me jump into that right away. So first of all, there is a question that I very often get from customers, and this is actually basically around, what do you think does cloud stand for? And I have one simple word which I think, and that's velocity. Coming from the ERP world, I learned that it's very hard to get innovation in the hands of the end users. And Jim Hagemann-Snabe, my former boss, taught me one thing: innovation only happens if the end user really is using it. Now, when we come to the cloud, the world has changed. There is velocity in the way we are able to deliver value, to deliver new innovation to the customers. As a matter of fact, if you look at trends like mobility, analytics, big data, and cloud, for us, those trends are not separate. In the cloud, they do come together. And I'm always very positively astonished how fast we can react to changes out there and how we can iterate on certain topics. So velocity is really the one term which stands for me in the cloud. And if you're not a technician, I think it's even more important to realize that you need to have some very key design principles when you talk about cloud solutions. I will come to that a little bit later on to achieve velocity. But let's look into what we learned, and this is now, of course, from what SAP hears in the market, what I learned from my co-innovation customers. How do the things look like at an enterprise level? And we're constantly looking what is happening in the market. We're constantly looking at our customers, at our prospects, talking with our partners, how they see the cloud. And I definitely can tell you, the world has become much more speedier, more velocity in there in the cloud just in the last 12 to 18 months. It's unbelievable. Now, we made a small survey just recently, which I would like to share, and we did interview on a global scale customers, large and small. We looked into line of business of IT and other line of businesses, and we looked, of course, throughout all the geos. And some topics that we found out I would like to share, like, for example, what do customers see as driver of cloud? So definitely more and more, and a higher percentage believes that cloud computing will change their business and their industry. And it's not about only cost. Cost is a fair point, and CapEx versus OpEx, of course. But they see cloud computing also as a driver for innovation and for differentiation. So they see that more and more topics, as you can deliver it faster, as you can deliver it different, cloud is definitely an option. When it comes to execution, there is still a certain percentage who have no points of contact with cloud topics, and of course it's fair because not everything is going into the cloud. But the percentage is really shrinking. So more and more you see, specifically when it comes from a departmental decision where often the budgets reside, where they decide on a cloud solution being a choice or maybe also the superior choice. And that does mean there's much more cloud, and this is much more real in the enterprise than one might think. In fact, if I ask certain line of business, let's take the line of business IT, sometimes they don't even know how much cloud is already ongoing in their company, and we all know where that comes from. So I think what now we need to do, specifically thinking from an SAP perspective, we need to bridge that gap. We need to make sure that the line of business, the department thinks about what is the benefit of having an integrated solution, of thinking about a cloud service that also has benefits for the company, and how we bring that together. And here, the relevance and the influence of cloud solutions is, of course, raising. No one was thinking that 3 or 4 years ago, sales data will reside in the cloud. Matter of fact, it does more and more. No one today maybe would believe that mission-critical business processes like financials will end up in the cloud. Well, let me tell you, it starts. So you need to think about what solutions and what critical solutions should be where. And this is what I allude also later on, because again, it's not everything cloud, it's about hybrid. It's about how do I connect a cloud solution to what I have, for example, like an integrated suite, being that on-premise, being that virtualized. So we all know that at the end of the day, things need to work together. So we need to make sure that if more and more cloud solutions are in there, that we adhere to certain design principles, which I would like to lay out in a second. Now, looking ahead, we do assume that the influence on company performance as well, and that's what the companies are saying to us, will have more extensive influence on the performance. And actually, this is something which we also should measure. You shouldn't go into a cloud approach, or maybe also into not even in a project, without clearly measuring what do you expect at the outcome. And again, I will show you some of the ideas that we have in here. And last but not least, I think cloud will be also an accelerator and reinforcer of some of the trends you see out there. And yes, there's a lot of buzzwords, there's a lot of myths, even around cloud. We also need to define what we mean when we talk about cloud. But I think that cloud also is a perfect catalytic moment to bring a lot of those megatrends in the hands of end user with the meaning. No end user is interested in analytical tools or has much to think about big data in the sense of, yeah, what does it bring for me? He needs to have that data, mobility, in memory, actionable at his fingertips. And the reason is one of the things that struck me when I, coming from the ERP world, since a couple of years at SAP, morphing myself into the cloud business. And there's a very, very interesting reason why cloud is more than ever needed in an enterprise. And the reason is, that just 2 years from now, roughly 47% of the users will have been born after 1980. So that does mean I'm old. That does also mean that the solutions that we provide, the solutions we co-develop with our partners, for our customers, for those end users, need to be different. And there's another one that we see, that by 2016, more than 75% of new IT spent will be either cloud-based or hybrid systems. That, of course, tries to define what hybrid here really means. But this is, of course, a reality which a vendor like SAP needs and is preparing himself for. So what does it mean to the enterprise? What does it mean to the end user and the end customer then if we come from the market to the current reality that we see in our customer base, in our partner base, and in our prospects and out there in the market? So number one, you need to be very clear that the cloud only provides value when you think about certain design principles, how you set that up. Number one, it's appeal. It's user experience. Do the people like what they see? If you don't build your cloud solutions in the way that the end user wants to consume it, you're in the wrong place. That's why we think that just taking existing solutions and putting them into the cloud, that is only a cost topic with virtualization, but has nothing to do with pure cloud solutions. You need to build them different. And some of those attributes are analytics in context. If you can't get the data out of a process-driven system, which by all purposes is right to be there because it runs your company, but if you're going to get that data actionable in the hands of the end user in an analytical way, which is not a tool, but has all the context, then you have a problem. Because the people will not dig into the data, into the right data to make their decision. You need to deliver that to them. Will he be in marketing? Will he be in sales? Will he be in talent management, HR, or in supply chain management? He needs the data delivered to him in the business context, in his business context. And of course, those solutions need to be fast. They need to be fast in the sense of how they work. They need to be fast in the sense of combining data from multiple sources. And they need to be fast in the sense how I can deploy them and how I can start to use them because they work the way that I work. So the last point, which I think is obvious, hopefully to an audience like here, that's mobile. Many processes today are driven by a mobile. In fact, out there in the world, there are more mobile devices than toothbrushes. Whatever that gives to you, for me it clearly says there are many mobile devices. And mobile devices, not only from a private purpose, but more and more also from a professional purpose, and the blending of it. I want processes to be able to manage them on my mobile. I'll talk to you to my personal favorite here. I travel once in a while, actually a lot. What I don't like is my travel expense system, which my company forces me to use sitting on my laptop after the fact. And the reason why I don't like it is coming back for an extensive travel, I have a lot of receipts, I don't know how to handle them. What I would like is a user interface on my mobile device, which in my case is a BlackBerry because my thumb is far too thick, which is connected with a cloud company called credit card because 90% I pay with credit card. And as I used to live in Germany, due to legal reasons, I need to hand in the receipts that I pay cash like taxi. So good, there's a camera at the back. So I want to make a photo of that, send it to an OCR service and get it back. And with the combination of that information on my mobile device, which I can use whenever I want, I just click with one thumb, yes, 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 no. It would be great if that user interface has a small analytics on it who says where I am regarding the budget, maybe in nice green and red colors. If there would be a small button like initiate workflow to ask your boss for more budget. This is what I like. This is what helps me as the end user on my mobile. Now, this is not the end-to-end process. The end-to-end process in my case is that this data, and everyone, don't get me wrong, can do nice interfaces on mobile devices or in the cloud. But if this is connected with the financial systems of my CFO, Werner Brandt, in the basement in Waldorf, and I get my money back so my wife can go shopping on a Saturday. This is the end-to-end process I care. And if that works seamlessly, I will use that more, and that brings me to the value for the company. They don't need to have the controller send me emails at the end of the quarter, Mr. Denecken, where are your receipts? They get the data faster. With that simple example, I have explained all the design principles which we think is specifically for cloud solutions, also for on-premise, that is specifically for cloud solutions make a difference. They need to be mobile first. They need to be designed for my use case. They need to have analytical context and components in the context of my work. They need to work fast and need to be integrated, or to say hybrid. So what is the value that we see in cloud solutions? So you achieve value with cloud solutions if you can do many things, but for sure those three here. To unify the right allocation of tasks to the right employees, to optimize by identifying and promote the right employees, giving them the right tasks, making sure they work on the right things, and accelerate that the objectives that the individuals have and the enterprise have is synchronized. Why is that important in cloud? Because like I said before, we have gone to extensive projects in the cloud where we measure the effectiveness of our cloud solutions. And there are many things that companies want to do. And usually all of that you see here on that page. But this is companies large and small should measure the effect when they go into cloud solutions. And here's one conclusion that I have based on my co-innovation experience. A rip and replace will not work. You very seldomly get a 3-year ROI calculation or more than 3 years from a pure cloud vendor. I'll tell you why. Because latest after 2 or 3 years, the problems about integration, data consistency, process consistency, and the cost associated to it kicks in. So that's why another design principle for SAP is very important when we talk about the cloud. And this is about options. This is about providing cloud solutions so customers and employees can consume it in their way, at their speed. And yes, we need to optimize our on-premise solutions, and we need to provide virtualization to have them running in a private cloud. We need to have a combination of cloud and on-premise, but also, and don't get me wrong here, we need to provide a full cloud option. If a customer today wants to decide to run the complete sales organization, the complete HR process in the cloud, he will get that from SAP. But more and more, people realize that they're living in a heterogeneous environment, and not everything is going to cloud 100%. So hybrid does play a major role in our strategy. So let's look at the SAP Cloud Strategy. And the SAP Cloud Strategy is described very simply being based on 4 pillars. But before I go to that, let's define what we mean with cloud, because there's a lot of fuss out there. For me, it's pretty simple. The best definition of cloud is software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. But we also need to think about adjacencies like virtualization hosted on-premise, because this is the reality at the customers today. So that does also mean when I define an application as software as a service, I need to have the right platform, the right infrastructure, and it needs to be able to deal with virtualization and even with business process outsourcing like hosted on-premise. This is the reality. And we need to design cloud solutions to think across all of those layers. So SAP's cloud strategy needs to enable opportunities in the cloud. And we look at 4 distinct areas where we need to do that. And you know that software as a service is very tightly linked to platform. So we want to make sure that we enable by our solution to optimize and automate people. We're coming from the process automation world, and we want to optimize the way how people interact with systems, how they use systems, and the effectiveness. We want to enable customer-driven innovation on platforms. And yes, we do have a platform as a service, actually HANA Cloud. And you can already today, it's announced a couple of weeks ago, go to the Amazon Elastic Cloud, AWS, sign up for our platform as a service offering, HANA Cloud, and start to build on top. We also need to think about beyond the enterprise itself. So business networks for trading, for people interaction, for money flow, for customer relations, got to be the future. And the total cost of ownership, do I have the right infrastructure to deal with pure cloud, cloud-to-cloud integration, cloud to on-premise integration needs to be there. And this is what we are doing. So our cloud strategy is built on those 4 key elements. Applications in the cloud, focusing on the key areas where customers today manage their most important assets. People, customers, suppliers, money, and complete business as a complete ERP suite. This is needed today. Second, a platform where you can build on, where we build on, HANA Cloud. Networks that thanks to Ariba, we got the DNA how to deal with networks. And an infrastructure and lifecycle management where I can easily manage a cloud solution, but also the combination between a cloud and an on-premise solution. So let's dive into the applications area. In the application area, we have set these priorities. We communicated them at Sapphire Orlando in May, and we have coming a long way since then, because we already have 2 quarters after us. The focus is the same. We focus, as I said, on people, customers, suppliers, money, and running your complete business as a suite. Now, in each of those pillars, there's extensive roadmap, extensive development. And always with the choice to be attached to where customers already have invested today, like on-premise, or having a full cloud option. But there are some topics which go across all of those solutions. And this is mobility, like I said before. We don't want to develop any solution if it's not mobile first, because then you start to think about the essence. There's no solution in the cloud who doesn't leverage enterprise analytics actually in a context. And there's no solution that we build that not leverages today already in the one shape or other in-memory computing thanks to SAP HANA. And last but not least, the social aspect, the way how the people who are going to be your workforce in the future will work is collaborative. Now you can't run in a company collaboration, or how some people call it just social, as a tack-on tool. You can't just chat around people and think that more noise is more effective. You need to bring collaboration in the business context into the fabric of the solutions. We just launched last week SAP Jam Social Collaboration, which is part of each of those pillars. And guess what? That goes cross. It even goes to on-premise solutions. Because it's not just, the HR guy who needs data, the financial guy who has his data. In each of those pillars and across those pillars, collaboration is important. So that's why we have come up with a very comprehensive portfolio in the cloud. We have things and topics that go across. And specifically that area of collaboration, and we'll go through those areas now, it is important that to do collaboration and networking right, you need to tie data, process, people, and content to one place. So do me a favor, go out there for SAP Jam, try it out, because that shows you best how we enable solutions today to empower end users to collaborate better. And believe me, not only your new workforce, also your existing workforce is very keen to understand where collaboration can bring value. And that only works if you bring the business back to social, if you have it in the fabrics of your solutions. Examples? You need to collaborate on an opportunity if you are in sales. This is not only your sales organization. It's the best engineer. It's the guy in the legal department you need to work with. It's the guy in financials. And you don't want to call him or send him stupid emails. You want him to help you on your deal. This is why collaborative opportunity management in those solutions does make sense. Learning. Only 20% of learning today is formal. Very few people assigned to this massive training classes. A lot of learning is informal, by sharing, by collaborating on projects. These are very clear examples where collaboration in context does make sense. In the people pillar, thanks to the SuccessFactors portfolio, we have come up with a complete HR in the cloud. But of course, the trends that you have seen around how do I want faster communicate my strategy management. How do I want to decrease in low performers and increase, of course, and nurture my top talent management. Those are topics, those are tough questions. And with more than 4,000 customers and more than 15 million subscribers, actually we're at 17 million now, we have a lot of people, companies large and small, who use those solutions and rejuvenate their way how to deal with their people. And this is how they need to be designed, because the people need to want to use those solutions. In fact, I need to go one step further. I need to give the people context about what is happening in their language. One of the first solutions that we have put out there, we call it headlines, like auto insights about what is happening in your company in the language. And this is something which we see very powerful going forward based on cloud solutions, because we have a lot of content and we have a lot of context of the companies. In the customer area, how we're going to work in sales in the future is going to be different. Salesforce automation or CRM, a sales guy doesn't like. He doesn't want to be automated. He doesn't even want to use a CRM system. He does that at the end of the quarter. He wants to collaborate on his deal and get the right people together. But also, he doesn't want to call the back office guy to log into ERP or CRM on-premise to get the latest data. So this needs to be connected. He wants to know the shipping status, the production status, the payment status of his client before he walks into the door with his iPad. 360 view across the collaborative angle and across systems. Financials on demand. A solution which is going to launch next week at Sapphire Madrid. A solution that enables a controller to get his data into the hand of a business user via being, of course, legal compliant and secure. So basically unlock the financials for everyone out there in the business via giving him the data over KPIs and report in the context where he works on, instantaneously and in real time. Travel on demand. This is the example I explained before, my personal favorite. I can use it on my iPad, on my BlackBerry, on whatever device I'm able to use. Integrated into the solutions which give me my money back. Talking about the supplier area, you heard hopefully about our recent acquisition of Ariba. And I think it's very important to state a couple of things, and three of them for me are important. So number one, I firmly believe that the power of networks just has started. And the Ariba network, with more than 730,000 companies in most countries of the world, has brought together buyers and sellers on a platform in the cloud, which enables them to do business faster and even more secure. And this is a very open network, and it will stay open no matter what business solution the customer has, and we'll invite more and more trading partners to it. We, in fact, are improving the way how from an SAP solution, being it a cloud solution or an on-premise solution, you can connect to that network. But this is an open trading, an open platform. And I think it is important to acknowledge that the idea of networks you can also apply to other areas. Why should a network only work if I sell and buy something and manage the cash respective to it? Why couldn't a network also work for people? If we see and look in some regions in the world, people come together on a project basis. They work in networks. Cash, finances, financing my business happens in networks. My customer relations happen in networks. So think about a network as an own category which you can apply to the key assets of your company, also to the outside world. Then you know where we're going with Ariba. We have customers who want to run their complete business in the cloud. And an offering like B1 on demand for smaller customers or Business ByDesign for upper mid-market has grown tremendously. We, in fact, have several use cases here. Two of them very interesting to me, and a lot of co-innovation around that. Number one, subsidiaries of larger companies, either mergers and acquisitions, divestments, or certain subsidiaries that I just want to connect but leave them a certain amount of independence. They are opting for cloud solutions already today. And these are not just small companies, 1,000, even largest one, 5,000. Employees completely running their business on a complete suite and complete ERP in the cloud. And the second one, a lot of our customers just don't have time or the money or the timing to get their template of the business suite in the hands of everyone where it needs to. So cloud is also a very good ramp-on option. We're still fulfilled to the needs of an enterprise, like I want to close my books faster. I want to push down master data from my core system towards my satellite system. So these applications, we're keeping investing to run complete business in the cloud. To summarize it, from an application perspective, we need and we are building solutions that address today's business challenges, and the cloud is a viable and in sometimes even the better option to get there. Again, not everything will go to cloud, but more and more we'll see, due to the velocity of cloud, to the speed of innovation, due to the integration of mega trends like mobile, analytics, in-memory, that the cloud is going to be a very good choice to start with and even to stay on. Now, one question that I'm also asked is, what is the IT path to the cloud? More and more IT is asked, what is their cloud strategy? And in fact, sometimes if I speak to very IT-heavy audiences and ask the question, how much are you involved in cloud? How much cloud do you use? I get very low numbers and very few hands. I personally would argue not to be involved in the cloud is a career topic. So I ask IT to look into cloud. And we see ourselves as SAP to be in the position to have on one table a line of business called IT and a line of business, no matter what our department, and have an educated discussion about what does cloud bring, where does cloud matter, and how should it work together. One of the topics, of course, is that the cloud needs to be transformative. The cloud can help actually IT in a big time to get from a physical way of running their business to a combined virtual, either in private or in public cloud. And IT has been in that space for very long, called it virtualization. And again, look at the tools that we have. Look at the support that we have with our tools to get your on-premise systems into the cloud. A very good example is SAP itself. My partner in crime, Oliver Bussmann, our CIO, he runs our company based on 60,000 business systems, or 65 the latest time I met him. More half of them are already running in a virtualized environment. As a matter of fact, thousands of them he deploys even via the Amazon Elastic Cloud, because there is no reason why test systems, quality systems, demo systems should not run in a virtualized environment than on your own iron. So it's all about choice. Customers want to decide how they manage their IT and their business. And the combination between public cloud offering and private cloud offering is very important. With that said, let me come to the question of why do we think hybrid does more and more matter in our industry. So the situation at customers very often is that they have invested in on-premise. And sometimes they end up in a mushrooming environment of cloud solutions without even knowing it. Now we want to offer a couple of things to help. Number one, we need to make sure that the customer has the choice to decide what is in cloud and what is on-premise. And we'll come to the security topic later. Companies want to focus and optimize end-to-end process management, but they also see the necessity to give best solution to certain departments, especially as those guys have the budget. And they see all those trends out there, and we need to make sure that this worlds act and work together. So the cloud needs to be open. It needs to be open in two ways. Number one, in how you integrate your cloud solution with your on-premise solution. And at SAP, we use technology that customers understand and have, either on-premise or provided via the cloud, to best integrate an SAP cloud solution to an SAP on-premise solution. But if we now have the case that a customer already ended up in a mushrooming environment of cloud solutions from different vendors, he might have a different technology to integrate, like Dell Boomi, IBM Cast Iron, MuleSoft. So we collaborate with them. We need to be clear that in the cloud, we need to be much more open to whatever technology the customer has used. I, of course, say to connect an SAP cloud service with an SAP on-prem, our integration technology should be the best. When it comes to platforms, and that goes, of course, hand in hand, the questions that I usually get is, how can I extend your solutions? How can a partner build on top of that? So the question about platforms is important and is key and close to our heart. Vishal Sikka has just recently announced that TechEd US, and we'll do that again next week, TechEd EMEA, and you can follow that online, our path towards cloud in the platform plane. And that is SAP HANA Cloud. And I think that deserves a distinct presentation. I think in this SAP Summit that we are here, you already heard about that. And it gives me my cloud view on it. So I think over time, we need to converge to one cloud. We need to have one cloud platform where the companies can extend, the companies can build on, and the partners can build on. Now, reality is, no matter what we do, the situation at customers will always be and always stay heterogeneous. So we also need to accept that fact internally. In fact, if we acquire new solutions, they will be on different platforms. So from an SAP Cloud Strategy perspective, we want to converge towards here. We want to make sure that customers and partners can use our cloud solutions as services based on the HANA Cloud, extend them, build new solutions on top of that. And in fact, we have already partners doing that, building on this platform and via web service connecting that with our cloud solutions. Let me come towards the end and touch a topic which, depending on what regions you are in, is more or less discussed. And this is the topic around security. it is clear that the cloud needs to be secure. It needs to be secure because companies more and more will drive key parts of their business via cloud solutions. And I think that's generically for all cloud vendors. We're all in this together. It needs to be secure. Now, my problem is when people talk about security, mostly, and really mostly, they talk about, is my data secure against access from someone else? That's fair, and that needs to be addressed. At SAP, we manage customer data since 40 years. And you can be assured, if you go into our data centers, it takes you 2 hours in and 4 hours out. So dealing in a secure way with data is important. But there are two more things that often are forgotten when it comes to security. The second one is, where is my data? Can I decide what data is managed in what cloud solution, or what data is in cloud and what data stays in on-premise? Can I keep payroll data maybe on-premise and tokenize them so the cloud service for talent management can run his process? Can I have certain financial data still in the backend in my private cloud? Well, then I use certain subset of the data via KPI in a public cloud offering. These are questions that need to be answered. These are questions you should answer and ask your cloud provider. Can I maintain data in this region rather than in another region? And you know there are some legal background to it. And the third point to security for me is portability. Can I decide if I like a service today that I port the data from on-prem to the cloud, but tomorrow I don't like it, I want to use another cloud service. Or maybe I want to go back from a cloud service back to on-premise. So portability of data often is not looked enough at. So make sure when you talk about security that you look at all of those three angles. So let me summarize why we firmly believe that the cloud will help to get to better management and better management systems. And there are many reasons, specifically the one I mentioned at the beginning, like velocity, but there are others which for me are equally important. Nevertheless, it all starts with the user experience. Is that what I see of like for me? And we all know that from our own consumer behavior. I don't know how many apps you have on your mobile device. I don't know how many of you still use it. I have far too many on my mobile device which I don't use, because I decide in a split second if there's value and I want to keep using it. This is the challenge that business solutions in the future, given how fast our world is, how flat our world is, that we need to adhere to. I need to liberate the data which is in a process-centric system by purpose. SAP runs 65% of the worldwide GDP in SAP systems, and we know what that means. But how can I use that data? Not rip and replace, but how can I use that data in a context-sensitive manner to make the right decisions? And of course, how I can do that faster. And this requires that the way how we develop the solution, the way how we provision the solution, and the way how we combine the solution, we need to look not only in cloud, but in cloud and context. So this is what I had in mind today. And seems like I'm sticking at least to the timing. So if there are any questions, feel free to ask them, connect with me, tweet me, even you can call me, visit me on some of the future events. I'm very interested in a dialogue, not only if this year has been of value of you, but if the strategy that we have laid out and what we're doing in the cloud resonates with you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hey Sven, how you doing? It's Andy from Advanced Tech.
Hi there.
Sven, that was excellent. We've had questions throughout the presentation. As we briefly discussed at the beginning, we said we lay out the questions that would suit the audience. So with that said, we've got approximately 10 minutes left, and we've had some technical questions, but also some more business-focused questions. So I think we've found a bit of a theme today. For the last 10 minutes, could you perhaps lay out two elements? One being, how do you see cloud progressing in the next sort of 12, 24 months in terms of implementation? And then secondly, what are going to be some of the big challenges we might see from an actual implementation point of view in the next sort of 12, 24 months? And what could we do as an organization to preempt those challenges?
Very good question. So let me start with the first part. I am damn serious about that. A couple of years from now, the majority of the investment going to be cloud-based or hybrid. So there are going to be more and more cloud. And even mission-critical things will go to the cloud. Not everywhere, not with every customer, but the benefits of the cloud will just be superior. Now, the second part of your question, the challenge is going to be what should be in the cloud? And do I have the right offering and the right approach to the customer to help him to get into the cloud in a secure way? And that again asks for how serious are you to invest in integration? To give you a very concrete example, at SAP, in the board area cloud, more than 7,000 people, we by purpose have decided that everything around localization of our solutions, and I mean here, localization, not globalization. Everyone can translate. But look at the vendors, how really they have localized their offering. And topics around integration need to be part of the cloud thinking and the cloud unit. You should build on technology that a customer understands and maybe also to a certain degree can manage, but it needs to be part of your cloud thinking. Just doing nice user experience on a mobile device, that's not cloud, that's not enough. You need to think about how that can work together with the situation and the solution that are in hands of your customer. And the last point is, as you said, what can we do to get there? So number one, try it out. Go out there, try out some of those solutions. Some of those solutions even have a freemium model. Try it out in a department. See how the reaction of the end user is. And secondly, maybe develop part of those solutions or extend them by yourself. Go to NetWeaver Cloud, sign up at Amazon or SAP Developer Network and ramp on and try out how fast you can develop, maybe on Java, a cloud application. And last but not least, let's make sure that at the end of the day, integration does matter, on-premise does matter, so end-to-end process do matter. Give you the example on the very favorite topic around CRM. And I'm pretty sure that Dietmar of the panelists spoke about that before. There is a reason why I run mission-critical and fast processes in CRM on-premise. Now, also, of course, an in-memory database. But there is an entity who wants to run like the sales hunter on his iPad. And another one wants to steer a process via his mobile device. So you need to connect those technologies. The problem that many people have, there are far too many technologies out there. Of course, there are many vendors, but there are far too many technologies. Do I understand mobile? Do I understand on-prem? Do I understand cloud? Do I understand in-memory? In the cloud, it comes together. So developing solutions on our platform brings you that mobility, brings you that ability, brings you that connectivity with the on-premise backend. This is the way where I think ramping up yourself, trying it out, get smaller projects, get some departments on there will be the best way of embarking into this and staying on top of it.
Thanks for that. We've got so much positive feedback coming in. Amy Tanner, thanks for your comments. We stated, well, I have not stated it, Amy stated it, strategic and proactive to where business is going. Excellent for those of us at high levels to implement the change across the company organization. We've got so much positive feedback. just working through the questions, Sven. Bear with me 1 second.
Unfortunately, I can't see the feedback, so keep tweeting.
Yeah, we've got some questions here. Whether you can answer them now, Sven, I'll put them to you. I think one question you've touched on, but this question is coming by Lucia Gray. All our data will be in the cloud. Is our data safe in the cloud?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, thanks for the question. Coming back to what I said before, no, not all your data are going to be in the cloud. But let me come to the answer to the question from a different angle. Whatever data you have in the cloud needs to be secure. And that is what the vendors need to take care of. They need to be secure not only in the way of others accessing it, they need to be secure in the way that you can get that data whenever you need it. So topics like latency, topics like access to the data, topics like how much is the performance of the data are important. But even more than that, we need to realize it's not only about the data in the cloud, it's about the combination. And I give you one good anecdote about the discussion I had lately with a customer. He was asking me about what is all this hype around in-memory and so forth, and you now with HANA. Do I go everywhere there? I said, no, use that where it does make sense. And I explained him how the adoption of HANA works, come that in a second. But the net is, his challenge for a very long time is going to be to combine data in the cloud, maybe based in an in-memory database, together with data out of his transactional system. And his analytics needs to be able to capture both. So just being in memory only doesn't help either. So it's always the combination. Now, as I'm misusing this question a little bit, let me allude shortly about how the adoption of HANA works in the cloud, how in-memory really plays in the cloud. I'll make you a very, very concrete example. When we look at our solutions, I see 3 stages of adoption of in-memory computing. The first stage is the stuff just runs faster. And I think that stage is not to be underestimated. Analytics running faster, processes running faster have a high value to the people. And that gets them to the second stage, which is actually they're going to use it more often. Big companies who do reorganization, small companies who want to run analytics of big data, they need that speed. But if they have that speed, they will use it more often. And that then brings them to the third stage. And that is where we'll see completely different solutions. I'll give you some concrete examples. Workforce planning as part of our people offering on HANA enables our customers to do, due to reorganizations, building teams, meshing up organizations, workforce planning at a fingertip. Not needing a data analyst or massive reporting in the background, which then he will look at the data once a month. Another example, sales operation planning. I believe no one in our industry has got that right. Why? Because we look in the back mirror. Having those solutions based on in-memory databases, data combined from cloud, on-premise, transactional, and whatever data you want to mix up, maybe unstructured data from the web at your fingertips, will enable you to make complete different decisions and will build complete different processes. So this is what I see. And again, I hijacked your question about security. And I think here again, we need to come back to the basics, that not only the trusted vendor, but also the ability to innovate and use this innovation in a secure manner does matter. And for our customers and our prospects, it's very important to see that innovation come to life in cloud first, to use it there without all of those questions. And yes, at the end of the day, my data needs to be secure if it's out there in the cloud. Is there another question I can hijack?
Well, what we'll do, we'll hijack. We've got a lot of questions. We're into our last couple of minutes, so what I'll do is I'll pick out one question. We've had a couple of a couple of times. Here we go. What are the implications for skills requirements of the growth of cloud, especially for technical administrators and developers?
Very good question. So I think, again, depending on the vendor, there are some commonalities. A lot of vendors have SDKs out there. And I think to approach the cloud, if you are a developer, Java, or whatever you use as a programming language, you pick the vendor who supports that to your best knowledge. And we do that. We start to code on Java in our cloud. The second one is you should have some decent knowledge about how to integrate the one solution with the other based on web services. And last but not least, you should have a thorough understanding how an end-to-end process looks like. Because as a matter of fact, if you want to deliver value to your own company or to your client, if you are a development partner or a service partner, you need to understand and realize that processes today can start in a mobile, go into the cloud, end up in on-premise, and come back to mobile. So there is integration technology you should be aware of, you should use. And that combination about savviness, how processes run and how value is created, plus a decent amount of technology knowledge, how to develop and how to integrate, I think those are going to be the most desirable colleagues of the future.
Fabulous, Sven. Thank you for that. For the feedback we've had, we could go on all day with you, Sven.
My pleasure.
Well, it's our pleasure. Honestly, thank you so much. Unfortunately, it's now 2 minutes towards the hour, so our time with Sven has come to an end, sadly.